What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Afterlife episode 3, I believe. Yes, episode 3. And we have a guest for you that needs no introduction, but we're going to introduce him anyway. Mr. Abby Normal from Graveyard Boulevard. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Hey, my full-time job is owner of a comic book store slash game shop with all this nice stuff behind me. We built this game room area.
Oh, so you're in your shop right now?
Yeah. This is the Comic Mon store in Salisbury, North Carolina. It's what pays the bills.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Right. My side hustle is music. I've been doing that for 30 something years or more at this point. Once music's in the blood, it just doesn't go away.
Started off with Maniac Spider Trash, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, that was around 1993. That band lasted till 1995. We released some songs with that. That was really where me and Wednesday 13 first kind of started figuring out how to play guitar and put songs together. And that's
I was actually listening to some of that music earlier before we started recording. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Frankenstein Drag Queens and everything that he's done since then. Everything you're doing now, I enjoy. So
I appreciate it. Yeah. Of course, Wednesday's on the other side of the country from me at this point. I'm still in North Carolina. He's in California when he's not touring the world. But yeah, I've really appreciated the fact that he's managed to make a career out of touring the world and still putting out music. And, I'm always excited when he releases new music too, even though, our history is long in the past. But, we're still friends and we text once in a while. But yeah, I love a lot of stuff he's done over the years.
It's always good to see when your friends succeed, right?
Yeah.
It's always a good thing.
Yeah, not all of the band members that Wednesday's been in bands with has felt that way, but I don't hang on to that negativity or anything. It's just I like seeing my friends succeed.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. We actually just saw Wednesday here locally. What was it, last November, Jenny?
Yeah, it was last fall. It was cold out.
Yeah, it was cold. That's all I remember. So like the whole reason that we are doing this episode with Abby is because he is influential with music, but horror inspired music. And we decided to look at the dichotomy of horror movies and music in horror films, whether it be the scores, the soundtracks for films. We're just going to take a quick look and overview of all of that. So is there anything you want to talk about first, Abby?
There's so much to talk about if we're talking about movies with music. That's 100 years of horror movies, starting back with, I guess it starts with the original Nosferatu, right?
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, but that was, those were silent films. And I think if I'm remembering correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of the original music was lost to those, right?
I think they actually were able to restore Nosferatu. I know the F.W. Monroe estate actually just got a hold of Nosferatu in Metropolis and like restored all of it. So it's like Metropolis now is like a 2.5 hour long film, and Nosferatu is restored to the original score with I think it's the original outlay of what the film was initially.
Okay, so that's interesting. I have to look that up because I know it's been rescored multiple times.
Mm-hmm. I actually, believe it or not, I actually enjoyed the typo negative score that was put out in the 90s. I thought that one was really interesting.
Right.
But I mean, if we're talking scores, Bernard Herrmann's Psycho, 1960. Very influential.
That one stands out so much, as far as like something that's so incredibly iconic and something that everyone recognizes. Like you hear any note from it and immediately it's a recognizable score altogether.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes you to that place, whether you want it to or not. It's there.
Yeah. And it's not just the music of Psycho either. It's the atmosphere created by all of the score behind everything too. I mean, just the way that he scored the entire film. Just yes.
Which,
So good.
mind you, he was working on a very shoestring budget and doing everything kind of last minute too.
Yeah, it was very moody and unnerving, and I think it may have been like one of the first movies that really used stringed instruments to kind of bring that jump scare element.
Like specifically with the shower scene and the yeah, definitely.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think when it comes to, I mean, you really can talk about music and horror and how they go together going way back. But definitely the way that metal and horror start mixing together in like the 60s and 70s and definitely in the 80s. Like
Oh yeah,
in the 80s, like I mean, like
so
the
much
80s is
80s
where it just
in metal
culminates so
horror.
beautifully.
Yeah, I assume you're also nostalgic of the 80s and early 90s like I am.
Yeah,
It's just
for
a sweet
sure.
spot.
We prefer something that's got practical effects, so we love like the 80s gore and splatterness of those. So yeah, we love the 80s films a lot. I mean, we do a lot of 80s films on this channel, so
For sure. But there's also, I mean, like I think, you know, we can talk about this more as we get into this a little bit more, but I love the way that as horror changed, metal almost changes at the same way, especially when you look back in like the 80s, especially. Like there was so much attack of metal music by, you know, the mom groups, and I mean we all know about that, obviously.
Mid 80s and late 80s, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, you know, and I think because of that, the movies got more hardcore and the music got more hardcore. I think things just continued to grow and kind of turn into something more, and that's why horror and metal go so beautifully together, in my opinion. I just think there's that darkness, you know. Yeah, but I think there's that darkness, and you know, the darkness that comes along with like heavy metal or just heavy rock music in general, punk music, like really all of everything in that whole realm, that darkness that represents, you know, I mean everything that, shoot, I mean, we've talked about the Hallie and I kind of talked about this right before you were coming on, was Trick or Treat, and it being like such a huge representation of what was going on in the 80s. I mean, they straight up in the very beginning, they're showing Sammy Kerr being interviewed, you know, like before Congress. Right.
Right, because that was right around the time with the PMRC and Dee Snider in front of Congress, and um, I guess Sammy Kerr might have even been a little influenced by the character from like Blackie Lawless's look. Even, you think?
Yeah, I can see that. Definitely has that vamped up hair, but has that nice like dark goth look to him still at the same time. And I don't know if that's just because most of the time that he's actually on screen, his face is all burned up. But you know, I mean, he just has that nice like dark gothy look to him, which I think is fun and makes the whole movie interesting.
And so you had Sammy Kerr, this evil looking heavy metal guy. But do you remember the Ragman? You remember what show he was on before?
Oh man, was he on like Family Ties or something?
Yep.
Was it Family Ties?
I'm pretty sure it was. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure he was on Family Ties.
Yeah, here, let me look it up real quick.
So that, you know.
Yeah, Family Ties. He played Skippy on Family Ties.
Right,
so
Skippy,
yeah, there you go. Yep.
So you're talking about dichotomy,
funny.
how you know the evil and then the, you know, Skippy.
Right. And I mean, obviously he's not playing the same character, but and I actually really love his character. I feel like I can like the character of Ragman or Eddie, whichever one you want to call him. Like I think most of our friends and people that we grew up with can relate to that character because we were that character. Very much so. I mean, I was in high school in the late 90s. So, I mean, in early 2000s. So, I mean, like things really didn't change that much in the 15 years from when that movie was made, you know, and I'm sure they haven't really changed much now.
I get, you know,
unfortunately.
later as I grew up, you know, I realized like as a teenager, most teenagers feel like the outcast.
Absolutely. Even the ones that are popular feel like they're outcast in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk to them when you're adults. They tell me stories like, I'm like, no, I was the outcast.
Right.
But we could bond with the other people who liked our music. It felt like a little club. That.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Question: with his name being Eddie and set in '86, do you think that Stranger Things based Eddie Munson's character off of him?
I'm sure that probably somebody had to know that. So I'm sure.
I mean, the Duffer Brothers are very nostalgic for everything '80s, so I would assume that's probably where it came about, specifically with his love of like Metallica and everything like that. And so it was just interesting because I watched this movie years ago, but then I rewatched it this morning and I'd forgotten all about the character's name and everything. So it was just it made me think of that.
Yeah, and I was already into heavy metal when that movie came out, but definitely seeing Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne in that movie and roles just kind of sealed the deal for me on. Oh,
for sure.
That's pretty cool.
Well,
even though Ozzy's playing against type, playing a reverend.
I think that the kid that plays Eddie, Mark Price, I think at that age he looks like a young Ozzy Osbourne. I think personally, like in the face, he looks a little bit like Ozzy, like he could be Ozzy's kid, although he doesn't look like either of Ozzy's kids, or any of Ozzy's kids. But either way, maybe a younger brother or something.
Right.
I think it was right. Oh, gosh, I got some notes. I'm trying to check. Let me see. What year did Trick or Treat come out? Do y'all have that?
86.
86. Okay. So
yeah, I had it pulled up on my computer.
So my first concert was Ozzy Osbourne's, and it was the Ultimate Sin Tour. So I think that was real close to the same time. So like Ozzy Osbourne was on tour with Metallica during the Master of Puppets tour, and that was my first concert, and that was a whole new world. Show.
Holy crap. Yeah. What a first concert. Mm-hmm. Mine was like, this is going to make me sound wow. Anyways, mine was Alan Jackson and Leanne Rimes.
Yeah, I got you beat.
Taken by my mom. I was like, I don't know, probably 7 or 8. And then, no, I had to have been older than that, maybe 10.
I got you beat. Still. George Jones and Conway Twitty. That was my first concert in '93.
And welcome to the Midwest, where everybody listens to country music.
I'm in the Bible Belt, so it's
right.
Yeah. In case you didn't know, Abby, we are from Central Illinois, so I don't know if you know Peoria at all.
Not really. I mean, I've played some shows in Illinois before, but it's been a little while.
So I know we're right, like pretty much smack right in the middle of the state.
Yeah, about halfway between St. Louis and Chicago. That's where you'll find us.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we've got some friends up in Chicago. We did a couple of runs from North Carolina to Chicago. I remember the Melody Inn was a place we enjoyed playing. I don't know if that's close to you or not, but anyway.
Don't know that one offhand, but
I digress.
Hallie, what is your favorite horror movie soundtrack?
You already named it. It was Trick or Treat.
Yeah. Yours is?
Yeah. I don't know. I think that if there were 10 songs on that album, I think I really liked like 8 of them. So it stuck with me. And
for sure.
And the vast majority of that soundtrack was done by Fastaway, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Which was like a super group, right? I mean, basically.
I don't
kind of sort of.
Well, they weren't super at the time. They were really kind of struggling from my memory. But this Trick or Treat soundtrack really kind of gave them some spotlight.
Okay.
I think they released another album after the Trick or Treat soundtrack, and then I think they just kind of started fading into obscurity and just never really caught their stride. I think. Again, you might want to fact check me on this. I think the singer went on to be in Flogging Molly, though. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. I was reading that earlier. I just pulled up their Wikipedia real quick here. I mean, they basically kind of got their opportunity from getting to perform with Ozzy at some point. So, and that's kind of how they got their start, and and how they ended up on the soundtrack. So, yeah, but
Looks like they put out a total of 7 albums going all the way up to 2011.
wow.
Yeah, but there was a big gap, if I'm remembering
Yeah,
correctly.
1990
Yeah,
to 2011, so 11-year gap.
yeah.
Mhm.
1990 to 2011. Yeah, that's a 20-year gap.
1 year, yeah.
Haley's
Can't math.
not always good with numbers sometimes.
They stopped in
Maybe it is.
1990 to get past the grunge years, I guess.
Right. Hallie, do you have a favorite horror movie soundtrack?
I would probably have to go with Freddy versus Jason, just because there are so many bands on that soundtrack that I grew up with. It introduced people to a little bit of harder core metal, but it also showcased like new metal. Wednesday was on that soundtrack with Murder Dolls. I believe it was Welcome to the Strange is what they had on that one. But it also had like Lamb of God, Chimera, uh, Devil Driver was on there. They were just starting out. That was like their first soundtrack go. So yeah, Freddy vs. Jason for sure.
Yeah, that one's way up there for me. One that like I guess has really stuck with me for a really long time. And I don't know, I guess I don't pull it out and listen to it often, but every time I watch this movie, the soundtrack just gets me like crazy, is Goblin for Suspiria. Like they did the entire soundtrack for Suspiria, and it's so haunting. And I think that's why, and I think every time I hear the music, it reminds me of the imagery of Suspiria and how
And to clarify, you're
insane it
talking
is.
about Dario Argento's Suspiria, not the
Correct.
remake.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Not the remake.
I think
Not that the remake is bad, because it is actually decent for a remake. I'm not always a big fan of remakes, but yeah, obviously I'm talking about the original.
So I think Suspiria, again, if my memory doesn't fail me, I think it was one of the first ones that really started using synthesizer.
Yeah.
And sort of a little bit, yeah, it did a little more with synthesizer than
Synthesizer is a little bit more like kind of electronic sounding, lots of theremins and stuff like that just like give you that like eerie. Right. Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely like a classic 70s sound, but like in the best way.
Which may have also influenced the Stranger Things theme.
For sure.
Most likely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you, Hallie, also on Freddy versus Jason, just as far as being my generation. I also think that Freddy versus Jason as a movie brought in a lot of people that of our age, me and Hallie's age at least, because I'm going to be 41, she'll be 42. Like brought in more of our age of people into the horror community. People that were like familiar with Jason and familiar with Freddy, but like maybe hadn't seen everything, but they're like, oh, I'll go and watch a movie where they're like fighting against each other. This should be fun. But then like, you also discover a lot of really cool music at the same time because of that. And I don't know. I'm a big old Freddy versus Jason stan anyways. I can't help it.
We just did a ranking video of the Nightmare, the Friday the 13th franchise, and we actually put that in the very top tier.
Yeah, it was good. Was that Ken Kersinger? Am I remembering correctly?
Yes. Yeah, who actually was in the Jason mask once prior for a stunt on Jason Takes Manhattan that the stunt coordinators deemed too dangerous for Kane Hodder. So
Kane Hodder, like the ultimate stuntman.
Right.
So I do have a story about Ken Kersinger. He back in 2008. I'm very involved with like geeky things. So here in North Carolina, I had created my own little convention, and Ken Kersinger and Brad Lorray, I think is the way he likes his last name pronounced, from Halloween Resurrection, were my guests. Anyway, so Ken, we flew him in from Canada. He was just the most delightful guy. I mean, I don't really have anything interesting any funny stories or anything, but the dude was just super nice and made such a good impression on me.
I love that.
And we had a good weekend, and
Yeah.
he was great.
Now, the convention you're talking about, is that the one that you just posted about a couple days ago?
No, so in 2007, 2008, I did a little convention called MonsterCon, and it was my out of my pocket trying to do something cool here in North Carolina before Mad Monster Party came and before there was a horror convention. But unfortunately, in 2008, there was like this horrible gas shortage. In
And
October.
2008 wasn't really a great period of time for anyone financially
No,
at
Right.
all.
it's not.
So yeah, financially, I got hit a little bit. I'm glad I did it, but it made me step back from wanting to run a convention out of my pocket. And so, but still, 2007. Gosh, I was able to get Peter Mayhew, Chewbacca, to come to Salisbury, North Carolina, which was super cool. That was whenever celebrities weren't crazy expensive to, with their appearance fees. So we got Chewbacca for a very reasonable price. Anyway, 2008 came. We got Kian and Brad, and then I didn't do any more out of my own pocket. But the convention you mentioned that I posted about on my Facebook page the other day is called Con Carolinas. It's a sci-fi fantasy convention that's a volunteer-run, very literary, author-driven convention, and it's been going on for 20 years, and it's run by a group of people that just love sci-fi, fantasy, and creative minds.
That's cool.
So yeah, we don't focus on celebrities as much as the indie creator.
Cool. We actually just did a convention here in Peoria on Saturday. It's called Ignite Peoria, where the local artisans, authors, artists, dancers, all kinds of people come together and just showcase what they have for the community. It's free to.
It was really fun.
Yeah. No. Had a lot of cool people there. They had a Freddy Krueger Jeep there, which was pretty cool.
Allie, you'll have to pop that up in the video so that did you take a picture? Because if you didn't, I have some cool pictures of it. So yeah, we'll have to pop that up. But yeah, it was really, really cool. They had Freddy painted on the side of the Jeep, and then Robert Englund had signed the front seat of her Jeep, and she had all kinds of cool accessories and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty neat.
Robert Englund's pretty cool too. Have you met him?
He is. I have not met him yet, but I know lots of people who have. And from what I've heard, he's just a wonderful, wonderful person.
We actually have.
Because one of our sisters, sister Amanda, has met him. So yeah, she had him sign the mask. It's signed there at the bottom.
Right.
Very nice.
That sits here on our set when we film, so Freddie just peeping over our shoulder every once in a while.
Yeah. Sometimes I move him around just to see if anybody notices that he's like in a different spot on the set.
Yeah, we try. Speaking of Freddie, how about Dokken from Dream Warriors, specifically their song Dream Warriors?
Rockin' with Dokken?
Yeah. I mean, so. Is it my understanding, I have to, like, maybe one of you two knows this better than me, but they, like, went to him and were like, yo, write a song. We don't care what the song is, but the title has to be Dream Warriors. And they just kind of let him go with it. That's what I had read. It was a while ago. So, who knows? I don't know if either of you knew.
My Dokken knowledge is not great. I liked Dokken okay. They weren't one of my favorite bands back in the day. They weren't dangerous enough to me. I guess Dream Warriors gave them a little bit of credibility, but
right. Specifically with the VHS release that had the music video at the end of the movie after the credits rolled. So if you watch through the whole thing, you got the music video as well, which Robert Englund was in.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
I did like Dokken's guitarist, George Lynch, because he had a guitar that was a skeleton he called Mr. Scary. George Lynch was the coolest one out of the bunch. Jeff Pilson, the bass player. So, all right, I'm digressing here, but this is just an interesting story. My wife talked me into going to see Foreigner about a month ago. Jeff Pilson plays bass for the current formation of Foreigner, which completely surprised me until I was like looking up who was in the band. Foreigner has no original members apparently, but Jeff Pilson's on bass, and the old singer for Hurricane is singing for Foreigner.
Wow.
That's
Anyway,
crazy.
found that interesting.
That's so funny.
Anyway, back to okay. So other '80s movies. Friday the 13th, 6. Jason Lives.
Alice Cooper, he's back behind the mask. The man
yeah.
behind the mask. Yes, yes. That was an interesting little video.
Alice
too.
Cooper was on a lot of horror movie soundtracks, actually. I mean, rightfully. And then obviously he was in oh shoot, the Carpenter movie.
Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness.
He
Yes,
was also
yes.
he was also in Freddy's Dead.
Oh,
He
that's
played Freddy's father in
right.
that. He played Freddy's father in
Weird.
that, beat him with
right.
or stepfather or whatever, and beat him with the belt and everything in that.
Yeah.
I've forgotten about that part, but yeah. No. So Friday the 13th Part 6 was actually where I discovered Alice Cooper. It seemed like that was his step into it. I guess it was one of the first times he showed up on like Headbangers Ball on MTV, because at that time all the heavy metal bands had their own show on MTV, and
right.
that's what I was
Back
paying
when
attention
MTV
to.
was
Back when
MTV.
Right, back when MTV played music.
Mhm.
Weird.
But yeah, Alice. Isn't it amazing that he's still going? Like, what is
he was actually just here in Peoria on the 4th, I believe.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago. He was just here.
Yeah.
I mean, and it sounds like it might be his last tour, but I mean, everybody always says that, and then it never happens.
Yeah, like Aerosmith just announced they're done touring now too. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I guess at some point the aches and pains catch up with you, but I think once you're in the lifestyle of wanting to perform in front of people and write songs, it's hard to not do that if that's what drives you.
I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you're doing what you love, is it really work though?
Right.
Right. I mean, that's the way I look at it. So
yeah, I agree with you. That's why we keep doing what we're doing. We love what we're doing. We're not getting 1 million likes on Facebook and YouTube and everything else. Like, we're not blown up or anything like that, but we love doing it. We love talking about horror movies. We love talking to people about horror movies. So that's why we keep doing it, But yeah, I would imagine if like your whole life you've been a musician, like you don't just stop being a musician. You don't just stop being an artist. I mean, I've been doing art my entire life, and I get to the point where I get restless if it's been more than a day since I've created something, whether that's just me sitting down and crocheting for a few minutes or doing something to a painting or like setting up something new somewhere else. Like I get restless. Like I have to have it in my life. So yeah, I mean, I imagine I'm going to be doing this when I'm 80 something years old too. Even if my body hurts and I'm tired and everything else, I'll just, I'm sure when I'm 80, I'll just sit there crocheting like an old lady, like the old lady I already am.
How about you, Abby? You going to continue? You going to continue making music until the day you die?
Yeah, I guess so. I just enjoy it. I mean, sure, I'm not rich and famous. I'm not touring the world, but I'm okay with that. I'm happy where my life is right now. I have a store that's been around for 21 years now. So, keeping a retail store going for that long, I guess
that's impressive.
That's a feat in and of itself right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
seriously,
I don't get worn. I don't get burnout coming to work, and I appreciate that so much. It's just enjoyable. I love the people that come into my shop because there's a lot of geeky, kind hearted people that share the same interests that I do. And I love meeting new people like you guys who share interests.
Right? Right? If your shop was here, we'd probably be hanging out there a lot, I imagine.
Right, absolutely. You probably have to beat me away with a stick. Like, get away, go home, go home.
Would you go away, Hallie? Gee. She sometimes has to do that to me.
The new song sounds great.
Thank you.
We listened to it at the house the other day.
Thank you. That song's not really about anything horror, but I think it's the words are about where I am in my life. It's called Better Than Yesterday. I don't need to be better than you. I just want to be better than yesterday. Just keep climbing the next rung of the ladder and try to improve on what you are.
Right. It has a nice little like punk vibe to it, which I love punk. So yeah, I'm digging it. I can't. Is it going to be on an album anytime soon, or just a single for right now?
It's a single for right now. Trying to figure out how to navigate releasing music these days. I think a lot of people are just struggling with, and we do everything ourselves, DIY to a tie, I guess. So we're really on our own schedule. We released a full-length album in 2022. We called it Will Wither. It had 16 songs on it. And it was, that was sort of a closing of a chapter because that was the last recordings with Sicko Zero from Frankenstein Drag Queens from Planet 13. He's retired from playing drums now. So, him and I have been in bands off and on since 1993. So from 1993 to 2022. Yeah, that's a long time. But so that's the last full-length album we released. But since then, got a new group of guys that are just great to get along with, and we've released 5 singles. We've been releasing a new single about every 3 or 4 months, and I think we're going to just stay on that routine just to, continue to be productive. We'll eventually collect them into a physical form. If people want to buy it.
I mean, I'll buy it.
Okay.
I actually just I just ordered your Will Wither album the other day.
Thank you. And I missed some emails, but I saw it recently, and I will get that to you before the end of the week.
No worries. I know you're good for it. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Oh my goodness.
Well, we can talk about current music and the way that things are going as far as, at least I want to talk a little bit about it.
Tell me some bands I should check out.
Yeah, well, Hallie knows my favorite band right now is Ghost. And they have done 2 different songs for horror movies. One for the newest
Kills and
Yep.
Stay for Insidious Red Door.
Yep, exactly. But then there's also my other favorite band, which is Iceland Kills, and their last 2 albums and pretty much everything they've put out for the last 5 years or so has all been based on horror movies. So, or horror movies, and then even their album before The Silver Scream was all
it was literary references, yeah,
but a lot of horror literary references,
right?
So.
Specifically, Carrie and The Exorcist. They had songs for those 2 movies,
right?
Both specifically, so
right.
Yeah, I discovered them. I don't know how long they've been around, but I discovered them about a year ago, I guess. And yeah, I dug a lot of their songs.
Yeah, they're great.
What are your thoughts on any Marilyn Manson song?
I don't know if his controversy surrounding him is going to go away anytime soon. I understand that he's trying to move on past it. It was just a Manson song to me. It was nothing spectacular, honestly.
I'll be honest. I haven't listened to it because I have I got strong feelings about that man. I used to be a big fan, and I got some strong feelings about him. So, yeah, I haven't listened to it.
And your feelings are justified. And I'm curious to watch people's reactions to it. I mean, I love that Portrait of American Family album, and
Oh God, that
and
was such a good
Oh yeah.
album.
but it's kind of one of those deals, like, when people you think should do better don't. How does that change the way you feel about their art? Like J.K. Rowling, and some people have issues with her and Harry Potter these days.
Absolutely. Well, and another artist that I love their music but hate the person is Ronnie Radke and Falling in Reverse. That man doesn't know how to keep his stupid ass mouth shut. He's right up there with J.K. Rowling.
I think at some point though, you have to be able to differentiate the art from the artist. You can like the art but dislike the artist that's making it, and you don't have to support that artist by listening to or reading whatever.
Right. You can still like what they've made and enjoy what they've made, but you don't have to go out and buy their stuff anymore. Like that's how I feel about it. Like I still enjoy the music if it comes on in the radio or something. I'm probably not going to turn it off. But I also don't really listen to the radio. I choose what I play in my car.
My
That's all up to me.
my favorite band from the hair metal days was Wasp, and so Blackie Lawless was the cool guy that I wanted to be. But then, like, whenever I'd hear stories about people meeting him and him being an asshole, I was like, no, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
Right.
Don't take these experiments for me.
So you had mentioned him earlier, actually, when we were talking about Trick or Treat, and when I was just real quick, I was reading through the Wikipedia page, and actually, he was originally set to play Sammy Kerr. And then something happened, and they basically got this actor to replace him.
He didn't like the script that he was given. Actually, Gene Simmons was initially approached to play Sammy Kerr too, but he chose to do the like Wolfman Jack kind of disc jockey role because that was his idol growing up, was Wolfman Jack. So he wanted to pay homage to him. So
it's interesting that Blackie turned that down, but then a couple of years later did the soundtrack for Ghoulies too.
Pick your battles, I guess, right?
So funny.
Mm-hmm.
I love that though, man. Ghoulies. I haven't thought about that movie in forever. Like,
right?
It's been a really long time since I thought about that movie.
Yeah, the Wasp song on that was "Scream Until You Like It," and they had a video with the little ghoulies and the toilet and everything. So
right,
it was fun.
That's great.
Trying to capitalize in on those gremlins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Gremlins and the Krites. I guess they all kind of came out around the same time, didn't they?
Actually, the Krites came out before Critters came out before Gremlins.
Right. Like, so, very barely.
Do you guys want a new Gremlins movie, or is that one of those movies that's just best left in the past?
I think it would be interesting to see where they would take it. Whether it's going to be good or not is another question. Just like we were discussing this earlier on Facebook, at least, Jenny, the new potential Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think some
the thing is that it 100% depends on who takes the realms and what direction they take it. Because if you look at like we were saying with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you look at the 2003 one, it's great. I didn't like it when it first came out, but upon rewatching by Hallie's request, it's actually a lot better than I thought it was. And I actually like the beginning as well, because I think Arlie Ermy is amazing in both of those movies, and he carries most of both of those movies.
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't like the Leatherface origin story. I definitely did not like that Netflix thing that they did a couple years ago. And now they're talking about doing something else. So yes, I think that the potential is always there if you have the right person that really cares about the franchise and wants to take it in the right direction. But I also think there's always that potential of like taking things way wrong, and the whole "bro, you're gonna get canceled" thing that happened in the 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing. So
right.
I don't know.
That was ludicrous.
Seriously. Yeah. that whole bus scene was nuts.
I mean, gory, but
yeah,
just,
yeah, for sure, gory, which I loved that, but that's about the only thing that I liked about it.
As far as Gremlins, though, I think it really depends on who they would get to helmet. You know, who's gonna take it over from Joe Dante, because Joe Dante did a phenomenal job on both of them.
And I don't think he has any desire to do another one. Like he's kind of sort of said that before, at least in interviews that I've seen, that he's kind of just been like, yeah, we did that already. Like we don't need to go back to that world. Although I think there's some really interesting things about the Gremlins world that could be cleared up and maybe explained a little bit better, like all the rules that don't make any sense whatsoever.
Well, they kind of did that with the animated series on HBO, though.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Was that any good?
I
didn't watch it, but I heard that it expanded the lore of the Mo guys. So,
okay. You feeling good about Beetlejuice?
I am.
I'm cautiously optimistic just because of Michael Keaton's reprisal of Batman in the Flash film. Like he was.
Yeah, I'm excited, honestly, just to see
on its face.
Right. Yeah. I'm excited just to see everybody returning. I mean, like they've got like a good chunk of the cast returning, you know? I mean, like it's just you can't go wrong. Yeah.
With the exception of who?
Jeffrey Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He played the dad.
Yeah.
So
he played Charles, but they killed him off because of the controversy that surrounded him.
I didn't know there was any controversy surrounding him. I'll have to look into that.
Child pornography.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is why
real nice. Well, anyway. Yeah, I was gonna say we haven't seen him for a while. That would explain it.
I had forgotten him.
I mean,
well, he probably. I mean, maybe we should just forget about him.
Well, at that point, yeah, that's like I said. That's why they killed him off in Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it's going to be good. I would be interested in seeing the actual musical Beetlejuice, though, because the music from that.
I would like to see that too.
Is that only on Broadway? I haven't. I guess it is, right?
It's traveling around. We're actually looking about potentially getting tickets somewhere in Wisconsin, I think. So,
I do love a good theatrical performance. Our local theater here just did Sweeney Todd, so I enjoyed that.
Nice.
I actually just saw that our local theater, the Peoria Players, is doing Sweeney Todd and has auditions coming up soon. So might be something I'll look into too. Maybe, who knows? I don't know.
I tried out, and it's not something I normally do, but I got a few theatrical friends in the area, and they told me I should try since I can sing a little bit. And I was like, yeah, no, what have I got to lose? And so I went, and it was pretty intimidating because there was 100 people trying out, and they only need like 10 roles or so. Man, I was hearing some of the people in the next room belting out the notes that have been like professionally trained and stuff. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Wasted my time,
I could see myself like maybe being like in the chorus or something, if there is a chorus, you know, but I don't see myself ever getting a role anywhere. Who knows? They probably wouldn't put a rainbow-haired girl in a front role anyways. Rainbow-haired tattooed fat girl.
That's what wigs are for, and long sleeves.
Yeah, right.
I think they just care about if you can sing or not.
I think so. And I think the rest of it, they just, put a wig on you and put on the right clothes and make it work, right?
Yeah, and as long as you can hit your marks.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little
bit. Who knows? Maybe I will try.
You should.
You know what, Abby? I will.
Keep me informed. I want to know.
I will, for sure.
So I think we need to wrap this up. It's been about 45 minutes.
Sounds good to me.
It was a nice meeting you.
Yes, nice meeting you too. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us.
Yeah. It's a shame you don't live closer because I could see us totally hanging out.
Yeah, for
Well,
real.
the beauty thing about this is if you ever want to do a movie review with us, we can Skype you in like this.
Oh, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, for sure.
And well, I
All
mean,
right.
it's not Skype, but sorry, my wife's over here blabbing in my ear. But yeah, I mean, if you ever want to do a movie review with us or do another episode of the podcast or whatever, I mean, we're more than welcome to have you back on here. It's been a pleasure talking to you and picking your brains. So
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us.
Sure.
what did you do?
Yeah, my phone died.
All right, Abby, thank you very much for being on.
Thank you.
And we will see you all in the next episode of The Afterlife.